Namaskaram. Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Shri Krishna Shayatishwarabhyam Samprapta Chakrankana Bhashya Saram Shri Nutnarangendra Yatau Samarpitasvam Shri Krishnamaryam Guruvarya Meede Virodhe Kartike Mase Shatatara Kritodayam Yogacharyam Krishnamaryam Guruvaryamaham Bhaje Krishna Suri Daya Patram Jnana Vairagya Bhushanam Srimat Venkatanathāryam Vandeham Yoga Deshikam Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. On behalf of the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram, I welcome you to day 23 of Dhanur Dhya Sadhana, the 23rd day of the month of Margashirsha. There is one imagery that we see repeatedly coming up in Indian thought, in Indian traditional thought, which is the idea of churning something. We see a reference of the Samudra Manthana, where the ocean of the Kshira Sagara itself is churned. They have Mount Meru as the central axis. You have the Devas and the Asuras churning using Vasuki, the Naga, as the rope. And as the Devas and the Asuras churn their goal, they are seeking the pot of Amrita, believed to confer immortality, buried in the depths of the ocean. But as they churn, first what emerges is a toxic poison called halahala, which is consumed by Shiva. He stopped from swallowing it by Parvati. He is known hence as Neelakantha because the poison remains in his throat. Subsequently, all kinds of other precious objects start emerging from the depths of the ocean. The last to emerge is Dhanvantari, holding the pot of Amrita. Subsequently, the story continues of the fight between the Devas and Asuras, the appearance of Mahavishnu as Mohini, and subsequently how the Amrita is dispensed to the Devatas. Now, while at a surface level, this seems like a story we would tell children, what is it that we are churning? We are churning the depths of our own, the mind ocean, where the thoughts appear as crests and troughs of waves. Within us lies the potential for great power, great siddhi, material and spiritual. But first, we need to cleanse. We need to rid ourselves of the toxins. We need to have a stable central spine. This is why Vishnu's appearance as the Kurmavatara, because as they start churning, the mountain slips. And so Vishnu appears in the form of the Kurma, of Mahakurma, as the tortoise who holds up the Meru. And so the need for a stable foundation, the Mooladhara has to be firm, the Meru Danda that is within us has to be erect. This becomes fundamental for sadhana. And then the churning begins. But as we churn, the kleshas of the mind come to the fore, which is why we need the presence of a guru. Shiva appears there as the Paramaguru, who is able to consume that poison and make us eligible, capable of churning further. And then we see that all manner of precious objects, whether it's the Kalpataru, whether it is Kamadhenu, whether it is Airavata, Uchchaishravas, all of these emerge along with Mahalakshmi. Finally, the Amrita emerges. What are we seeking? It is the Amrita of truth, the realization of our Atma as Brahma Swarupam. This is the Amrita that we seek, for which we need to strive. And so we see that the metaphor of the churning becomes central to our Indian thought, the evolution of Indian spiritual thought. Similarly, you have a number of other references, which is going to be the focus for our practice today. See two references where the Shvetashvatara and the Kaivalya Upanishad speak of fire that is hidden within the wood stick. It needs to be rubbed. A churn has to happen, a friction has to be generated for that stick to spark and to turn into flame. Shvetashvatara tells us, Swadeham aranim kritva pranamamcha uttaraaranim dhyana nirmathanabhyasat evam pashyan nigudhavat. We have to make our very body the arani. Now here, the arani and the uttaraarani are, they are two wooden sticks. The lower is a slightly broad piece of wood, and the top, the uttaraarani, is a as you could say, is a pipe-like structure that is held perpendicular to the lower piece of wood. So you see a block of wood below, a large block, and there is a long cylindrical structure that is also wood placed on top. The arani is made of a soft kind of wood, and there is a rope that is tied around and rapidly agitated. And when the uttara arani rubs against the bottom arani, then in the heat and the friction that is generated, there is a spark, and that is further kindled to make the flame that becomes the fire for the Agnya. Now, this is the process of generating Agni for the ritual, for the Homa. Now, that is superimposed on this inner process of Dhyanam, and you see it in both these Upanishads as well. So, Swadeham aranim kritva pranavam cha uttara aranim. So you make your own body the lower fire stick, the lower piece of wood, because this is the vehicle. And you use the Omkara because Omkara represents Ishvara. We have seen this in the Yoga Sutra. Omkara represents Brahman. We see it in the Taittiriya Upanishad. So the utterance of the Pranava becomes the upper wood, and you keep churning in the form of Dhyanam. Dhyana nirmathanam. Mathanam is to churn. What are we doing Dhyanam on? On the Artha, the mantra Artha of Pranava, as Patanjali tells us. Tat japaha tat Artha bhavanam. So there has to be the japa of the Pranava that becomes the basis for Dhyanam. And then what happens? Evam pashyet pashyan nigudhavat. There is the fire that is hidden inside the wood stick. It is not apparent, but it comes to spark only upon this churning. In that manner, we see what is hidden as the innermost Antaryaman, as the Tattva that is hidden behind all creation. Similarly, the Kaivalya Upanishad tells us, Atmanam aranim kritva pranavam cha uttararanim. Similar, very similar thought. It says, you make yourself, you make oneself the very, here Atma is not necessarily the Antaratma, but oneself. You make yourself the lower arani and you use pranava as the uttara arani. Jnana nirmathanabhyasat papam dahati panditaha. When you churn, there is the surge of jnana, and in that fire, the flame that results is the flame that is capable of burning our ajnana. This is what makes us a pandita. It leads us from ajnana to jnana. Now, in the context of the pasurams of Andal, and we see this very often, the metaphor of Krishna being a thief. He's known as Makhan Chor in Hindi, the one who steals butter. Repeatedly, you see in the Pasurams, you see in various other places as well, the process of churning the curds, the yogurt that are rapidly churned to take butter out of them. Now, what is this process? See, if ghee that is clarified butter were to be floating around in the milk, we would think the milk is spoiled. When we buy milk, milk is clear. It's a clear, opaque liquid. Now, that milk has to be boiled. It has to be brought to a rapid boil. Then it is cooled fully. When warm, we add a culture that transforms milk into curd. We try to curdle the milk. There might be any additives such as lime or a few drops of vinegar in certain situations. In the Indian tradition, we use a previous culture of curd to cultivate a new culture. Once the milk has been boiled, cooled and slightly warm, the temperature still needs to be warm. You cannot curdle cold milk. It has to be warm at the right temperature. When we are adding another agent, then it generates a new culture of lactobacillus and other um, bacteria that contribute to healthy gut maintenance. Now, that curd or the yogurt has butter hidden, but even that needs to be agitated, it needs to be churned. And so, to that yogurt, sometimes a little bit of water is added, or the yogurt itself is churned as it is. You see many representations. This is typically what the Gopikas of Vrindavana were doing. Remember, I have been saying that they were largely an agri-pastoral society, a society that thrived on cattle rearing and thrived on the dairy products. And so there would be a large pot in which the curds were placed, a stick placed inside it, tied with a rope to a pillar or something else that would anchor it in place. And the two ends of the rope would be held by the Gopika, by the person who is trying to create butter out of the yogurt. And then it would have to be rapidly agitated. Now, the depth at which you put the churn is very important, because if you churn at the top, then while the curd will froth, it will splatter. The deeper it is, it's very important, because you would know by the sound. Only when the churn goes in deeply can you churn rapidly. And as you agitate the curd, it will separate into the butter, that is the thick part that will rise to the top, and the watery way will settle down in the bottom. Truly, according to Ayurveda, it is this that we must consume as buttermilk, not simply curd that has water added to it, because in this there is a separation. So the fat content of the butter rises to the top. It is this that Krishna is often represented as stealing. You have so many representations, artistic representations of how Krishna would hoodwink the Gopikas. All it would need was someone to just blink an eye and he would be off with butter. Not only would he eat the butter, he would call his entire community of the Gopa boys and all his friends and compatriots, along with the animals of the forest. He would feed them all butter. This is a very, very charming narrative. And repeatedly, you have Krishna being referred to as the butter thief. Now, why should Krishna, who is a cowherd, he is the son of Nanda, who is the chieftain of the entire Yadava community, massive community. Nanda was no ordinary man. He's Nanda Gopa. And why would the son of the chieftain need to steal butter? See that there's a very beautiful allegory that is hidden inside this. What is Krishna seeking? He seeks the butter of bhakti that we can develop in our hearts. But it's hard to find. We have to dive into the very depths of our being and churn. And when we churn, little by little, as we put to rest the chattering mind that constantly raises its head and says, I'm doing everything, I'm so great. It's only through that little by little that the butter that we know as bhakti, to see the truth, to see the divine in yourself and everywhere all the time. Only then bhakti rises to the surface, and that is what he seeks. But what is also important is that butter is not the final product, because even butter is perishable. While milk and curd are perishable, butter is also perishable. And there is a very small quantity of butter. You might buy 1 liter of milk. What you might get is maybe 10% of that weight as butter. Now, even that is not the final product. Butter has to still be subjected to heating. And once it is heated, then the residue will separate and a clear golden liquid rises, which is what we call as ghee or clarified butter. It's known as arjam. And ghee, when it is produced in this manner without any contamination, will not get spoiled. So we see that butter that has been made in this manner, from the milk that is boiled, set to curd, the curd that is churned, the whey separates the butter, just the fat content rises to the top, that is further heated, boiled, then there is a dark residue that settles, and the golden liquid that comes up is ghee, imperishable in nature. It can stay in that form for a very long time unless there are other contaminants that are added to it. So, what is the hidden symbolism of this? Why are there so many references to this churning of butter? In the Pasurams, I spoke to you about Samudra Mantana, which is at a cosmic scale. We spoke about the churning of the fire sticks, showing us the metaphor of the yajna itself and how we can transform ourselves, how can we kindle our inner fire. Here we see the metaphor of how the mind can go through a process of transformation. It is our own mind that is our greatest ally. It's the very same mind that is our greatest enemy. And it is a question of what practices we are subjecting the mind to. And when we offer to Krishna this butter of our bhakti, he will further subject it to a process of transformation so that it becomes imperishable like ghee. And when you look at the cost of milk and the cost of ghee costs several times more, very, very much more expensive. If we are able to buy a liter of milk for about in the vicinity of 60 Indian rupees, a kilo of ghee would cost nothing less than 1,000 to 1,500 Indian rupees. And so that is the value that you pay for the process that ghee has undergone to become ghee. And it is this that Krishna seeks from us, not the external butter. Because in Gokula, in Vrindavana, as you see from Andal's Pasurams, she says the udders of the cows are simply leaking. Simply at the thought of Krishna, their udders leak. And there is milk, ghee, butter, curd to be had everywhere. And so here, this idea of why should Krishna steal? Why is he the Makhan Chor? Is because he seeks for us to give our hearts that melt like butter. The thought of the divine, the thought of Bhagavan, we need to melt internally like butter and offer ourselves that complete sublimation of the ego, which is a necessary process in such churning, becomes very, very important. We see a parallel reference here in this Tevaram of Tirunavukarasar Appar Swami, a very beautiful one, where he says, let me just read this out to you. Biragit Triyanan Palir Padinai Pol Maraya Nindrullan Mamani Chodiyan Uravu Kol Nattunarvu Kaitrinal Uravu Kol Nattu Unarvu Kaitrinal Muruga Vangi Kadayumun Nirkume. What does this mean? It says, as fire is hidden inside the wooden stick, viragu is the wooden stick. As ghee, here, nei is ghee in Tamil. Nei is the Tamil term for ghee. As ghee is already hidden within the milk, it's not apparent. It needs to go through this elaborate process. In that manner, that jewel, that lustrous jewel that shines like fire, Shodhi is fire, is present, is hidden inside all creation. How do we see that? How do we access that? We need to make ourselves, we need to sublimate ourselves to this process, allow ourselves to be churned. So, uravu ennungolai nattu. First of all, we need to create a connection. We have to make a churn, anchor that churn in the depths of our heart. And how do you create this? You have to create a connection to the object of dhyanam, the dheya vastu. You need to create a connection to Bhagavan. And he says, Uravu kaitrinal. Unarvu kaitrinal. You have to have that feeling, that intense bhakti has to overflow from the depths of your heart. And that is what the rope represents. And in this manner, Murugu Vangi Kadayamun Nirkume, as you churn, as we subject ourselves through this process of sadhana, this is why Patanjali presents Abhyasa and Vairagya. Early on in chapter 1 of the Yoga Sutra, there has to be an Abhyasa. In Kriya Yoga, he says, tapas swadhyaya ishvara pranidhanat Kriya Yoga. There has to be tapas. You have to put yourself voluntarily through this discipline of the body, of the senses, of the speech, of the mind. This is a process of churn for which you need to have a connection, because this is not a churning that happens without an anchor. There has to be, think of a churn that connects from your heart to the Bhagavan, to the divine above. And we create that connection, that is Uravu and Unarvu. Unarvu is feeling, that you have to suffuse it with the feeling of an unconditional prema. Parama prema swarupam. Bhakti is often referred to as Parama prema swarupam. It's the heights of love. Love for whom? Love for the Supreme, for Ishvara. But the moment I say this is my Ishvara in this form, then we limit that. A love for everything in creation, reverence for all that is creation, to see the Supreme in everything, see it within me. When we permeate that process of churning with the ropes of our love, of our bhakti, then we become recipient to that grace. It just happens on its own. When we subject, then Ishvara Anugraha showers on us as Krishna embraces the entire contingent of Gopas and Gopikas in Vrindavana, showing them the truth that lies within. In the same way, we become churned for us to realize the truth of Atman, the truth of Brahman inside of us. For the practice today, we will use this, the idea of a churn, of an internal churn, as our anchor for the practice. The mantra I'm using is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the Dwadasha Akshari mantra. Dwadasha is 12. Om Namo Bhagavate 7. Vasudevaya. This is the mantra given by Narada to the child of 5 years old, Dhruva. It's a very beautiful story that appears in the Bhagavata, where Dhruva is the son of Utanapada and Suruchi. It's a young child. He's born to a king, and he is born to Uttanapada and his wife Suniti. I apologize for my mistake. Now, this king had two wives and one child each with each of the wives. The second wife, the younger one, was Suruchi, whose son was known as Uttama. Now, the king had a soft corner for the younger child born to the second wife. And when Dhruva was 5 years old, this Uttama pushed him away from his father's lap and said, "No, this belongs to me." He was in tears. He's a young child. He goes to his mother and says, "What can I do to win my father's love?" And Suniti tells him that there is this Jagat Pita, there is the father of the universe, of this cosmos. Who is this, mother? He asks. And she says, "It's Narayana, and it is to whom that you must address your prayers to." And so he goes into the forest. A child of 5 undertakes great austerities in the forest. This is where sage Narada meets him and guides him into the Dwadashakshari mantra, because he tries to dissuade the child. And he says, "You're very young. You cannot handle the ardor of being in the forest." And the child is determined. And Dhruva immerses himself in dhyanam, doing a constant japa, mantana of this mantra. And the story goes that Mahavishnu appears before him, blesses him, and says that he would go on, be a great ruler. Dhruva asks for merger, for entering Vaikuntha, but Vishnu says, "No, you're very young and you have long life to reign as a good, righteous king. This shall be your path. But when you finish your reign, you will join the heavens as the brightest star that others look up to. Till today, we revere this as the pole star or the north star, a fixed point in the celestial realms, a point by which we map the skies." So this is the story of Dhruva, the child who goes on to become a star, who shows light, shows the path to wayfarers across the world. How did he get there? Through this churn, using the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And so for our practice today, we shall use this. I'd like you to just sit for a minute or so, allow your thoughts to settle down, keep your back straight, eyes closed, chin down. Please stand up now. Stand in a comfortable samasthiti, feet slightly apart. Lock your fingers, turn them out, keep them below. On your inhale, raise your arms above. I will chant for you. As you exhale, simply turn. Just twist slightly. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist to the other side. Inhale, center. Exhale, arms down. You can come back to this position. Start here. On your inhale, take your hands up and turn them. Then twist. Center. Twist again. Return to the center. And as you chant on your exhale, hands down. Visualize this process that I've explained to you, the churning that happens. It is for this reason that Patanjali highlights a pathway of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, even before we acquire the eligibility for dhyanam, when the butter of the mind crystallizes, where we are ready for that attention. It's only through greater practice that dhyana, that dharana develops into dhyana, dhyana develops into samadhi, from samadhi to eventually nirbija samadhi, when we merge, when we are able to realize. To say merging would be inappropriate in the context of yoga, but when we realize the light that is within, that is our final destination, and we realize that we are innately divine, at that moment is when all this paraphernalia of the body, the mind, and the senses becomes redundant. That is the path of yoga. And so with this visual of transforming your own body into a churn and your breath as the rope, let us do this. Palms together. I chant on your inhale. Please repeat as you exhale. Inhale. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Lock your fingers, turn them out. Chant as you twist. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, center. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Twist to the other side. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Center. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, chant. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Lock the fingers, turn them out. Chant as you twist. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, center. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chant as you twist. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, center. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chant and exhale. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Lock your fingers, turn them out. Chant as you twist. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, center. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Twist to the other side. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Center. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, chant. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Lock the fingers, turn them out. Chant as you twist. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, center. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chant as you twist. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, center. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chant and exhale. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Lock your fingers, turn them out. Chant as you twist. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, center. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Twist to the other side. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Center. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, chant. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Lock the fingers, turn them out. Chant as you twist. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, center. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chant as you twist. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, center. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chant and exhale. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now, please sit down. Sit comfortably. Keep your back straight, eyes closed, chin down. Allow your breath to settle. Now, we will use pranayama. We will be doing Nadi Shuddhi pranayama. Again, I'd like you to keep your mind fixed on the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Use the breath itself. Inhale and exhale. The movement of the breath as a churn. Just visualize that as you breathe in and out, the prana that is carried by the breath is being churned. All that is toxic, all that is not needed for your body to function is thrown out. The Apana does its job. Prana brings health, vitality. The Vyana causes circulation. The Udana enables good speech and articulation. It also gives us longevity, holds us here for the duration of our karma. Samana is responsible for the entire process of metabolism. Just visualize that as we do this pranayama, that there is the aggregation of this butter within us, the butter of our intention in the mind that is focused. So keep your mind focused on the mantra and also use the breath as the ropes that you're using to churn the entire body, mind, and senses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya on the inhale. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya on the exhale. We will do Nadi Shuddhi Pranayama. Left inhale, right exhale. Right inhale, left exhale. Please follow my instructions. Use the Mrigi Mudra. Place the fingers at the bridge of your nose. You will chant only in your mind. I will chant aloud to guide you. Inhale left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, right? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Inhale, left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Exhale, left. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now, please just sit comfortably. Bring your hand down. Visualize as this process of breathing in and out happens in your body, that all your best qualities rise to the surface as the butter that we offer to the butter thief Krishna. Whatever it is in you that you consider a good quality, that brings you joy, makes you feel good about yourself, that brings joy to others, whatever those qualities are, visualize all of them simply rising to the surface as the butter that Krishna seeks of us. Do this for a few minutes. Allow yourself to keep breathing. Let the breath keep churning through you. Deep inhale and long exhale. But as you breathe, allow these qualities to rise to the surface in your heart, in your mind. In speaking of Ishvara Pranidhana, Vyasa's commentary tells us Sarva Kriyanam Paramagurau Arpanam. What is this idea of pranidhana, of offering? You give the best of everything. All that you do, you put in best of your efforts and you offer the outcome of that to the Paramaguru, to that Ishvara who represents the source of all intelligence, of all knowledge. Sarvagnya Bijam, says Patanjali. Collect all these attributes of yourself that you value, that you cherish. Collect them together as if you're bringing them, you're placing them in a pot ready to offer to Krishna. But before you do it, I'd like you to infuse it with sense of gratitude, sense of reverence, sense of wonder at what abundance we have been blessed with. Count your blessings, count every blessing that has made you the person that you are, and collect this butter in a pot, in a visually in your mind, as if you're collecting this into a pot, ready to be offered to Krishna. I will be chanting the Krishnashtakam. I will stop after every verse where we are offering to Krishna, who is Jagat Guru. He's the Gitacharya who gives us the Gita for posterity, to Arjuna, but through Arjuna for us for all eternity. So prepare this butter of your own intentions, the most noble, beautiful intentions that you find in you. Collect them together as this butter. Hold it in the pot of your mind. Infuse it with Krishna Bhakti. I will chant the Krishnashtakam. where I pause after every verse. Please chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Atasi Pushpasankasham Haranupurashobhitam Ratnakankanakeyuram Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kutilalakasanyuktam Purnachandranibhananam Vilasat Kundaladharam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mandaragandhasanyuktam Charuhasam Chaturbhujam Barhi Pichhavachudangam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Utpulla Padmapatraksham Neelajimootasannibham Yadavanam Shiroratnam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Rukmini Keli Sanyuktam Pītāmbara Sushobhitam Avapta Tulasi Gandham Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Gopikanam Kuchadvandva Kumkumankitavakshasam Sriniketam Maheshwasam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srivatsankam Mahoraskam Vanamala Virajitam Shankachakradharan Devam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishnashtakamidam punyam prataruthaya yah patet koti janma kritam papam smaranena vinashyati. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now, as I chant the Satvika Tyagam, in your mind visualize offering this butter of your own intentions that you have collected, offer it at the feet of the divine, of your Ishta Devata, of the Paramaguru, of the Jagat Guru. I will chant the Satvika Tyagam thrice. Simply visualize offering everything, your thoughts, your words, your intentions, your deeds, everything to that Narayan. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि अद्य सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Offer your prostrations to Parameshwara, Jagadishwara, Jagadguru. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Thank you so much for joining me today. We meet again tomorrow, day 24 of Dhanur Dhya Sadhana. I request you to be seated in silence for just a few minutes. You can stretch if you like after, but just stay immersed in the silence of what you have experienced for a few minutes before you get up. Thank you. Namaskar.